You walked into the store for one thing. You left with 6. Your coworker somehow got you to cover their shift again. You agreed to something you didn't want to do and you're not even sure how it happened. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You're being manipulated every single day, and most of the time, you don't even notice. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it's just marketing. Sometimes it's social conditioning. But sometimes it's people deliberately using psychological tactics to get what they want from you. And the scariest part, these techniques work because they bypass your conscious mind and tap directly into your deepest instincts. In this video, I'll expose 5 dark psychology tactics that are being used on you constantly, from the grocery store to your personal relationships. We'll break down how scarcity creates false urgency, why reciprocity traps you into obligation, and how authority figures manipulate your compliance. You'll learn to recognize foot-in-the-door techniques before you're locked in, understand why social proof overrides your own judgment, and discover how to protect yourself without becoming paranoid. So stick around, because once you see these manipulation tactics clearly, you'll never be fooled by them again. Here's what most people don't realize about manipulation. It's not always obvious. It's not a cartoon villain scheming in the shadows. It's subtle. It's psychological. It's designed to feel like your own choice even though you're being steered. The field of dark psychology studies how influence, persuasion, and coercion work on the human mind. And whether it's advertisers, salespeople, politicians, or that friend who always gets their way, they're all using the same playbook. These tactics exploit cognitive biases, emotional vulnerabilities, and social instincts that evolved over thousands of years. Your brain is wired to respond to certain triggers, and manipulators know exactly which buttons to push. And here's why this matters. If you can't spot manipulation, you'll keep making decisions that aren't really yours. You'll say yes when you mean no. You'll buy things you don't need. You'll stay in situations that harm you. But once you understand how these tactics work, you take your power back. You start making conscious choices instead of being puppeted by psychological strings. First tactic: scarcity, the illusion of running out. This is everywhere. Only 3 left in stock. Sale ends tonight. Limited time offer. The message is always the same. If you don't act now, you'll miss out. And your brain, wired to avoid loss, panics. You make impulsive decisions because scarcity triggers fear, and fear shuts down rational thinking. Picture this. You're browsing online and you see something you're mildly interested in. Not urgent. Then you notice the countdown timer. This price expires in 15 minutes. Suddenly, your heart rate increases. You stop comparing options. You stop asking if you actually need it. You just buy it because you can't stand the thought of missing the deal. That's scarcity manipulation working exactly as designed. Psychologically, this exploits something called loss aversion. Studies show that humans feel the pain of losing something twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining it. So when you're told something is scarce or running out, your brain fixates on what you'll lose, not what you'll gain. Marketers create artificial scarcity all the time. That limited edition product? They made 10,000 of them. That sale ending tonight? It'll be back next week with a different name. But the tactic works because your primitive brain doesn't stop to fact check. It just reacts. Here's the insight. Real scarcity exists, but manufactured urgency is manipulation. When you feel pressure to decide immediately, that's a red flag. Legitimate opportunities don't require split-second decisions. If someone's rushing you, they're not trying to help you. They're trying to prevent you from thinking clearly. Slow down. Walk away. If it's still a good decision tomorrow, it was a good decision today. Second tactic: reciprocity, the obligation trap. Someone does you a small favor. They give you a free sample. They offer unsolicited help. Now you feel obligated to return the gesture, usually in a way that benefits them more than their initial investment. That's reciprocity manipulation, and it's one of the most powerful tactics in dark psychology. Imagine you're at a car dealership. The salesperson brings you coffee, spends an hour showing you cars, builds rapport. They haven't asked you to buy anything yet, but now you feel bad. They've been so nice, so helpful. When they finally pitch the sale, you're more likely to say yes because you feel like you owe them. You don't. They were doing their job, but the reciprocity trigger has been activated. The psychology here is deeply embedded in human nature. Reciprocity is a social norm that helped our ancestors survive. If someone shared food with you, you shared back. It built trust and cooperation. But in modern contexts, it's weaponized. People give you small things, often things you didn't ask for, to create a sense of debt. Then they cash in that debt for something much larger. The initial favor was never about generosity. It was an investment in your compliance. The wake-up call: you don't owe anyone anything for unsolicited favors. If someone gives you something you didn't request, you're allowed to accept it without feeling obligated. If someone's kindness comes with strings attached, it wasn't kindness, it was manipulation. Notice when people give to create debt versus when they give freely. The difference is in what they expect in return. Third tactic: authority, the power of credentials and uniforms. People in positions of authority, or even just people who look authoritative, can get you to do things you normally wouldn't. It's why you're more likely to follow advice from someone in a white coat, why official-looking emails convince you to click dangerous links, why you comply with unreasonable requests from bosses or experts. Think about the famous Milgram experiment. Ordinary people were willing to administer what they believed were dangerous electric shocks to strangers simply because a person in a lab coat told them to. The authority figure didn't threaten them, didn't force them, just calmly instructed them, and most people obeyed even when they were clearly uncomfortable. That's how powerful authority manipulation is. Psychologically, we're conditioned from childhood to obey authority. Parents, teachers, police, doctors. This obedience serves a purpose in structured societies, but it also makes us vulnerable. Scammers use fake credentials. Abusers use their position of power. Manipulators invoke expertise they don't have. And we comply because questioning authority feels uncomfortable, even dangerous. We assume that titles mean competence and that position means trustworthiness. Here's the reality: authority doesn't equal correctness. Credentials don't guarantee integrity. Just because someone has a degree, a title, or a uniform doesn't mean they have your best interests at heart or that they're even competent. Question authority when it doesn't make sense. Ask for second opinions. Verify credentials. Real experts can handle scrutiny. Frauds fall apart under it. Fourth tactic: foot in the door, the slippery slope of small yeses. This is when someone asks you for something small and harmless. You say yes because it's no big deal. Then they ask for something slightly bigger. You say yes again because you've already said yes once. Before you know it, you've agreed to something you never would have accepted if they'd asked for it directly from the start. Picture a coworker asking if you can cover the last hour of their shift. It's just an hour, so you agree. Next week, they ask for 2 hours. Well, you helped before, so you help again. A month later, they're asking you to cover entire shifts and you feel trapped because you've established a pattern. That's the foot in the door technique exploiting your need for consistency. Psychologically, this works because of something called commitment and consistency bias. Once you've taken a small step in a direction, your brain wants to stay consistent with that choice. You don't want to see yourself as someone who helps sometimes and refuses other times. That feels hypocritical. So you keep saying yes even as the requests escalate, because backing out now would require admitting your boundaries were crossed. The truth is this: saying yes once doesn't obligate you forever. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to say, I helped last time, but I can't this time. Consistency is only valuable when it serves you. Don't let it become a trap that manipulators exploit. Each request is its own decision. Treat it that way. Fifth tactic: social proof. The power of everyone else is doing it. Humans are tribal creatures. We look to others to determine what's normal, what's safe, what's right. And manipulators exploit this constantly. Best-selling, most popular, thousands of 5-star reviews, everyone's switching to this. The message is clear. If everyone else is doing it, you should too. And most people comply without questioning whether everyone else even exists. Imagine you're deciding between two restaurants. One has a line out the door, the other is empty. You probably pick the busy one, assuming that many people can't be wrong. But what if that line was manufactured? What if they're deliberately seating people slowly to create the appearance of demand? Social proof can be faked, and it often is. The psychology behind this is called informational social influence. When you're uncertain, you use other people's behavior as data. If everyone's buying something, it must be good. If everyone believes something, it must be true. But social proof can be artificially created. Fake reviews, paid actors, bots inflating numbers. Manipulators know that humans follow the crowd, so they create the illusion of a crowd to manipulate your choices. Here's what you need to remember. Popularity doesn't equal quality. Just because something is trending doesn't mean it's good for you. Just because a million people believe something doesn't make it true. Think for yourself. Do your own research. Ask why something is popular before assuming popularity means value. Real value stands on its own merit, not on how many people claim to like it. So what can you actually do to protect yourself from these daily manipulation tactics? First, slow down your decision-making. Manipulation relies on you acting quickly before you can think. When you feel rushed or pressured, that's your cue to pause. Second, question your emotions. If you feel sudden urgency, obligation, or pressure to conform, ask yourself why. Is this feeling coming from genuine desire or is it being manufactured? And third, trust your instincts. If something feels manipulative, it probably is. Your gut recognizes patterns even when your conscious mind doesn't. Listen to that discomfort. Bottom line, manipulation is everywhere, but awareness is your superpower. You can't avoid every influence, but you can make conscious choices instead of being controlled by psychological triggers. So here's my question. Which of these tactics have you fallen for recently? What manipulation tactic would you add to this list? Drop a comment and share your experience. And if this video opened your eyes to something you hadn't seen before, hit that like button and subscribe for more psychology insights. Up next, watch my video on why you feel guilty setting boundaries. Remember, you're not paranoid for questioning things. You're awake. And that's exactly what manipulators don't want you to be. Stay sharp.